Comfort is a trap that's slowly destroying your potential. While everyone else chases the easy path, Machiavelli, one of history's most ruthless political minds, warned that your cozy life is actually your greatest weakness. The most powerful people throughout history didn't find success by avoiding difficulty. They embraced it. They sought it out. They used it. What if I told you that the very things you're avoiding are exactly what you need? The gym session that makes you groan. The difficult conversation you keep postponing. The early morning alarm you keep hitting, snooze on. These aren't obstacles to your happiness. They're the doorway to real power. Look around. We've built a world designed to eliminate all discomfort. Our phones, our food, our entertainment. It's all engineered to keep us comfortable, content, and ultimately, weak. And while you're nestled in your comfort zone, someone else is embracing the struggle and gaining strength that you'll never have. Machiavelli understood something profound that most modern self-help gurus won't tell you. Power doesn't come from comfort. It comes from conquering difficulty. The more you shield yourself from challenges, the softer you become. The more you face them head-on, the stronger you grow. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how strategic discomfort can transform your life, build unshakable resilience, and give you the kind of power that lasts. If you're tired of feeling stuck while watching others succeed, it's time to understand what Machiavelli knew 500 years ago, and what the truly powerful have always understood. Number 1. The adversity muscle theory. Have you ever noticed how quickly you lose strength when you stop working out? Your arms get softer, your endurance drops, and that hard-earned fitness fades away. But here's something even more alarming. Your mental toughness disappears even faster when you avoid challenges. This invisible decay happens silently, and most people never realize it until it's too late. Machiavelli observed this pattern centuries ago while studying powerful families across Italy. He noticed something fascinating. Noble families who had conquered territories and built empires through grit and struggle would often produce sons who lost everything within a single generation. What happened? These heirs grew up in palaces, surrounded by luxury, never facing the hardships that forged their parents' strength. Without resistance, your ability to handle difficulty withers away. Think about it. When was the last time you deliberately did something hard? Not because you had to, but because you chose to. Most people arrange their entire lives to minimize discomfort. They take the elevator instead of the stairs. They order delivery instead of cooking. They scroll through social media instead of learning a new skill. And with each comfortable choice, their adversity muscle gets weaker. What makes this particularly dangerous is that life doesn't care about your comfort preferences. Challenges, setbacks, and crises will find you whether you're prepared or not. The difference between those who crumble and those who conquer comes down to one thing. Is your adversity muscle strong enough to handle the weight? This brings us to tip number 1 of 5. The adversity muscle theory. Just like physical training, you need a progressive overload system for building mental toughness. Start small and gradually increase the difficulty of challenges you voluntarily take on. Begin with cold showers. 30 seconds is enough to start. Feel that initial shock? That's your adversity muscle being activated. Next week, make it 1 minute, then 2. Your body and mind will adapt, building resilience with each session. Next, implement daily micro-challenges. Choose the stairs instead of the elevator. Fast for 16 hours once a week. Work on a difficult project first thing in the morning instead of checking emails. These small choices compound into major mental strength. Once these become comfortable, escalate to weekly power challenges. Learn a new skill that makes you feel completely incompetent. Have that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Push yourself physically beyond what feels reasonable in your workouts. The key is consistent, strategic exposure to discomfort. The results will astonish you. Within weeks, problems that once seemed overwhelming will become manageable. Your confidence will grow not from hollow affirmations, but from genuine proof of your capabilities. Most importantly, when real crises strike, and they will, you'll possess an internal strength that others simply don't have. Remember, Machiavelli wasn't interested in temporary success. He studied power that lasts generations, and lasting power comes from a strong adversity muscle, one that you've deliberately trained through voluntary challenges. Start your training today, because every day you spend in comfort is another day your mental strength deteriorates. Number 2, the strategic vulnerability approach. What's your biggest weakness? Maybe you're terrible at public speaking. Perhaps you avoid confrontation at all costs. Or maybe numbers and finances make your brain freeze. Now, let me ask you something more important. What are you actively doing about these weaknesses? Most advice you hear follows the same pattern. Identify your weaknesses, then avoid situations that expose them. Play to your strengths instead. Outsource your weaknesses. Compensate with your natural talents. This sounds reasonable, but Machiavelli would call it a critical mistake, one that keeps you vulnerable forever. Consider what happens when you constantly shield yourself from your weaknesses. They don't disappear. They grow stronger in the shadows. They become your blind spots, your Achilles heel, the areas where competitors can easily outmaneuver you. And worse, they create constant anxiety. That nagging fear that someone will discover what you're hiding. What if there was another approach? What if, instead of avoiding your vulnerabilities, you deliberately exposed them, but in environments where you controlled the stakes and timing? This brings us to tip number 2 of 5, the strategic vulnerability approach. Machiavelli observed that the most powerful leaders weren't those who appeared flawless. Rather, they were those who transformed their weaknesses into strengths through deliberate practice in controlled settings. Here's how it works. First, identify your 3 most significant weaknesses, not just surface-level issues, but the deeper patterns that consistently hold you back. Be brutally honest with yourself. This isn't about feeling good, it's about becoming powerful. Next, create controlled exposure situations where you can practice these exact weaknesses. Afraid of public speaking? Don't wait until your career depends on a presentation. Join a small speaking club where the stakes are low, but the practice is real. Terrible with confrontation. Start with minor disagreements among friends before tackling workplace conflicts. The key difference is intention. Most people accidentally stumble into their vulnerabilities and panic. You'll be deliberately stepping into yours with a training mindset. This simple shift changes everything. As you practice, focus on small wins rather than perfection. If social anxiety is your weakness, successfully introducing yourself to one new person is progress. Celebrate these victories. They're evidence of your growing power. Over time, something remarkable happens. These former weaknesses become normalized in your mind. The emotional charge disappears. Where there was once fear, there's now familiarity. And eventually, these areas might even become your unique strengths, because you've invested attention where others haven't. Machiavelli understood that true vulnerability isn't weakness. Unexposed vulnerability is. By systematically confronting your limitations in controlled settings, you remove their power over you. You become somebody who can't be easily threatened or manipulated. Someone without obvious pressure points. Start today by identifying just one weakness and creating a controlled situation to practice it this week. Your future self, more capable, more confident, and more powerful, will thank you for having the courage to face what most people spend their lives avoiding. Number 3, the power paradox principle. Have you ever wondered why some people maintain their composure and influence even when everything is falling apart around them? while others seem powerful when things are going well, but crumble the moment control slips away. The difference might surprise you. It has nothing to do with talent, connections, or luck. It's about understanding a counterintuitive truth that Machiavelli discovered centuries ago. Most people think power works like this: gain control, maintain control, never relinquish control. They believe real power means always being in charge, always having the final say, always directing outcomes. They spend their lives chasing positions, titles, and authority. External symbols they believe will make them truly powerful. But here's the paradox Machiavelli observed. Those who desperately cling to control are actually the weakest among us. Their power is fragile, dependent on circumstances they can't always control. Once those external factors change, and they always do, their power evaporates instantly. True power, Machiavelli discovered, works in reverse. The most influential people throughout history first mastered functioning without any external power whatsoever. They developed skills that no one could take away from them, skills that would make them valuable and effective regardless of their official position. This brings us to tip number 3 of 5, the power paradox principle. Real power doesn't come from controlling everything around you. It comes from being completely comfortable with powerlessness and functioning effectively anyway. Here's how to implement this principle. First, deliberately place yourself in situations where you have zero formal authority. Join a new group where no one knows your credentials. Volunteer for a project where you're the least experienced person. Enter environments where your title, degree, or past accomplishments mean nothing. This immediately creates 2 powerful effects. First, it strips away your dependency on external validation. Second, it forces you to develop genuine influence skills. The ability to lead through persuasion, value creation, and relationship building rather than authority. Next, practice functioning effectively without resources. Constraints breed creativity. When you can't rely on money, connections, or institutional support, you're forced to develop resourcefulness. Perhaps the most valuable power skill of all. Start a side project with a tight budget. Solve problems using only what's immediately available to you. The third step is learning to maintain your center during chaos. When things fall apart, and if you're pursuing anything worthwhile, they occasionally will, can you remain calm, clear-headed, and effective? Start building this capacity through small exposures to uncertainty. Change plans last minute. Work with unclear instructions. Navigate ambiguous situations without becoming frustrated. As you practice these elements, something remarkable happens. You develop what Machiavelli called internal power, influence that doesn't depend on your position or circumstances. This is why, historically, some of the most powerful individuals were those who had previously experienced imprisonment, exile, or significant loss. Their external power was taken, forcing them to develop internal power that could never be taken away. Most people never experience this transformation because they arrange their lives to maximize control and minimize uncertainty. They remain perpetually fragile, constantly afraid of losing their position, their status, their authority. But you now know better. By systematically placing yourself in situations where you have no formal power, you paradoxically become more powerful than those who never leave their comfort zone. You develop an unshakable core that operates effectively in any circumstance. And that is true power, the kind that lasts a lifetime. Number 4, the fortune testing protocol. Life has an inconvenient habit of testing us at the worst possible moments. The job interview of your dreams lands on the day your car breaks down. Your biggest presentation coincides with a family emergency. Your finances get stretched right when unexpected expenses arise. Most people call this bad luck. Machiavelli called it fortune. The unpredictable nature of life that eventually challenges everyone. Here's what's fascinating. Watch how different people respond to these unexpected tests. Some immediately crumble under pressure, others maintain composure but struggle to adapt, and a rare few seem to thrive in the chaos, making smart decisions, staying focused, and even finding opportunities within the challenge. What separates these groups isn't intelligence or resources, it's preparation. Not preparation for specific problems, but preparation for unpredictability itself. The people who handle life's tests most effectively have already tested themselves numerous times before the real challenge arrives. This brings us to tip number 4 of 5, the fortune testing protocol. Instead of waiting for life to test you randomly, create your own series of controlled tests that prepare you for whatever fortune might throw your way. Machiavelli observed that the most successful leaders and states didn't wait passively for challenges. They actively simulated difficult scenarios and practiced their responses when the stakes were lower. Think of it as stress testing your life before reality does it for you. Here's how to implement your own fortune testing protocol. First, identify the domains in your life where failure would be most catastrophic. Is it your health, your career, your key relationships, your finances? Be honest about where you're most vulnerable to fortune's unexpected blows. Next, design specific challenges that test your readiness in each domain. For your health, try a week of minimal sleep while maintaining your exercise routine and nutrition. For your career, give yourself half the normal time to complete a project. For your finances, practice living on 60% of your income for a month. The key is to make these tests difficult, but not destructive. They should push you to your edge without breaking you. Remember, the goal isn't suffering for its own sake. It's preparation for real challenges that inevitably come. As you complete each test, document what you learned. Where did you break down first? What surprised you about your response? What resources or skills were you missing? This feedback becomes invaluable when facing real challenges. Gradually increase the difficulty of your tests. Start with single-domain challenges, just finances or just career, then progress to multi-domain tests that stress several areas simultaneously. This mirrors how life's real challenges rarely affect just one aspect of your life. The fortune testing protocol does something remarkable to your psychology. The more challenges you deliberately face, the more confident you become in your ability to handle whatever comes. This isn't false confidence based on positive thinking. It's genuine confidence based on proven performance under pressure. Additionally, you'll develop what Machiavelli called anti-fragility, the ability to not just survive challenges, but to actually grow stronger through them. While others are weakened by adversity, you'll have the skills and mindset to extract value from difficult situations. Start small, but start today. Create one fortune test this week. Put yourself in a challenging situation voluntarily. Feel the discomfort, work through it, and emerge stronger. Because in Machiavelli's world, which is the real world, fortune tests everyone eventually. The only question is whether you'll be prepared when your test arrives. Number 5. The discomfort leverage technique. Why do some people push through the pain of growth while others quit at the first sign of difficulty? Why do some see obstacles as stepping stones while others see them as stop signs? The answer isn't about willpower or motivation. It's about something much deeper, your relationship with discomfort itself. Most people operate with a fundamental misunderstanding. They believe discomfort is a warning sign telling them to stop, retreat, and find an easier path. They interpret struggle as evidence they're on the wrong track. If it were meant to be, they reason, it would feel easier. This single belief creates an invisible ceiling on their potential. Machiavelli observed something profoundly different among history's most accomplished figures. They didn't just tolerate discomfort, they completely reframed it. For them, difficulty wasn't a stop sign. It was a signpost pointing toward growth, toward opportunity, toward power. This simple perceptual shift changed everything about how they approached challenges. This brings us to tip number 5 of 5, the discomfort leverage technique. This isn't about pushing through pain randomly. It's about transforming your relationship with discomfort so completely that you see it as your most reliable growth indicator. Here's how to implement this powerful technique. First, begin tracking your discomfort responses. When you feel resistance toward a task or challenge, don't immediately act on that feeling. Instead, pause and ask, what exactly am I avoiding here? What's the specific discomfort I'm trying to escape? You'll discover patterns. Maybe you retreat from social discomfort. Perhaps you avoid the frustration of learning new skills, or you might sidestep the uncertainty of making important decisions. By naming these specific discomforts, you remove their subconscious power over you. Next comes the critical reframe. For each type of discomfort you identify, create a new interpretation that serves your growth. Social discomfort becomes, I'm expanding my influence. Learning frustration becomes, I'm building valuable expertise. Decision uncertainty becomes, I'm developing leadership judgment. This isn't positive thinking, it's strategic reinterpretation based on reality. The discomfort of growth and the discomfort of decay feel remarkably similar in the moment. The difference is context and consequence. Now for the leverage step. Once you've reframed discomfort as a growth signal, start deliberately using it as a compass. When faced with multiple paths, choose the one with productive discomfort. Not pain for pain's sake, but the specific flavor of discomfort that accompanies meaningful expansion. If you're deciding between 2 projects and one feels comfortable while the other creates nervous excitement, choose the second one. If you're considering 2 conversations and one feels easy while the other feels challenging but important, choose the challenging one. Let discomfort guide you toward growth. Over time, this practice creates an extraordinary result. You'll begin gravitating toward the challenges that others avoid. While they remain trapped in the comfortable mediocrity of their current capabilities, you'll constantly expand yours. The gap between you and others will widen exponentially. Machiavelli understood that your ceiling in life is determined not by your talents, but by what you're willing to endure for growth. The most successful people aren't those with the most natural ability. They're those who leverage discomfort as a tool rather than treating it as an enemy. Start today by identifying one discomfort you've been avoiding. Reframe it using the technique we've discussed. Then take one small action toward it rather than away from it. As you practice this consistently, you'll develop a relationship with difficulty that few people ever achieve, and access a level of growth that few people ever experience. As we reach the end of our exploration into Machiavelli's wisdom on comfort and power, remember this: the path of comfort is seductive, but ultimately weakening. The people who change the world, who build lasting power, who reach their full potential, they all embrace strategic discomfort as the price of greatness. Your adversity muscle grows stronger with each challenge. Your strategic vulnerability transforms weaknesses into strengths. Your comfort with powerlessness paradoxically builds unshakable internal power. Your fortune testing prepares you for life's inevitable trials, and your relationship with discomfort determines how far you'll ultimately go. This isn't about suffering for its own sake. It's about understanding that the discomfort you avoid today becomes the limitation you can't overcome tomorrow. Start small, but start now. Seek out one deliberate challenge, embrace one necessary discomfort, and watch as you begin developing the kind of strength, resilience, and power that Machiavelli knew would last a lifetime.